Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 211th episode of our first YouTube run through the House of Light expansion to Book of Hours, playing as the archaeologist. We're getting ready for a Salon in about a minute. We will chat with Azita. This is just, in between events. But Azita Bukhara, businesswoman, chess master, initiate of the Scarred Hour, sometimes called the Colonel. Conversation with Azita Bukhara. Hello, librarian. I have questions. I'll pay for answers. If there's an incident card active, you can discuss it, or just leave the slot empty and offer a consultation. I can identify my visitors' interests and satisfy them with an appropriate book. Alternatively, if they know a language I'd like to learn, I can offer payment. So we can do something easy here. Sun's Lament will work. My visitor has an interest in violence. My collection can help. And again, we're going to wait to see how the Salon shapes up before I start giving up Trist for the book. That does actually I feel a little uncertain about that just because we may not finish the book in time. But given that it'll be one with a Newman, that gives me a bit more flexibility, I think. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the sweet bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. I am going to take a quick peek at some of the options for the Oriflamme heist. We do want to have everybody... we do want to invite everybody before we... Actually, you know what? This is probably going to be dinner. Yeah, so let's take a quick peek at what the event looks like. So Zachary, one door closed, two doors open. I am certain. Zachary will share information in exchange for any memory. Of course I can give you that information. You must give me something for it, but I am generous. I ask for a token payment only. Hokebald will share information for a single bronze spintria. How invigorating. You've satisfied your visitor and earned a reward, but the more they learn, the harder they'll be to satisfy in future. Alright. Salon time. So I'm going to first check to make sure that... Yes, okay, so everybody's in place. So, who are we inviting? Mr. Zachary Wakefield, marksman, detective, renegade. He's always been a quiet man, but since he left the Suppression Bureau, he has grown even quieter and terribly still, except for his fingers and for his eyes, always in restless motion. Eason Fekri. Formerly, Eason was a healer. He was not human. He was Secretary Solvent of Hush House, but not all at the same time. Fussy, kind, famously foul to look upon. Stanislav John Schaller, priest, diplomat, gardener, a soft-voiced man with a very steady gaze. Fraser Strathcoyne, philanthropist, collector, former librarian, a complicated man, but not a cruel one. And Magister Hokebald, metallurgist, gourmet, corrupted immortal, and supposedly a long-ago King's Byblow. It's also worth noting here, so they're all inspired, but they have a few different aspects. So Zachary has a fear of nowhere. This one understands the all-consuming horror of the gods from nowhere. And has the agenda revelation. This one wishes to share knowledge despite Calyptra. Eason, on the other hand, has stone remembered. This one would recall or preserve something from the gods from stone. And sympathy carapace. This one understands the possibilities of the Carapace Cross Alliance awakening. Stanislav John Schaller also has stone remembered and sympathy carapace. Fraser Strathcoyne has sympathy carapace. And Hokebald, sympathy Chandler. This one recognizes the golden promise that the Chandler brings. And agenda better gods. This one hopes to build something to substitute for the hours. These people will be enjoying Blue Crown tea, always served cold, more accurate to say inevitably served cold. Isle water from Brankrug's Deep Springs, Strathcoyne whiskey, the collector has collected a distillery it seems, and Honeyscar jasmine tea, soothing to the senses. And they will be enjoying pickled pilchards, an acquired and unforgettable taste. Pickled mackerel, pickling is a kind of afterlife. What comes after afterlife? Poached mackerel. We do not poach fish in Brankrug without recalling the turbot crisis of 1786, when Dr. Westcott caught a prodigious turbot and required the kitchen to poach it for him without division, but no vessel of sufficient size could be found to poach it entire. At last they resorted to alchemical assistance. Mackerel, fortunately, requires no alchemy for its poaching. Stargazy pie. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Wild Lady Windermere's fan, and a mushroom meringue. What in the Wolf Divided's most splintered name hath here been wrought? We begin. My guests take their places for lunch. So this is the rationale behind the six elements of the soul. I did promise myself though that I would. Oh, actually, sorry. There's a couple things that I want to do. So one, I'm gonna keep track of salons. Invite a challenge. Add a metal card. And then I did also promise myself to keep track of my guests. So Eason is interested in Heart and Sky. All right. Schaller is Heart and Nectar. And Heart. Just a reminder here, the reason I'm writing these down is so that I can push through the events faster. Fraser. Scale for food. Okay, so on my list right now, I've got Daymare, Wakefield, Coquille, Serena, Hokebald, Olympi, Strathcoyne. Wait, I've got Strathcoyne twice. I'm an idiot. Douglas Moore, Azita, Eason, and Schaller. Obviously not my full list, but in terms of the people who've visited. Now, there's an important step here. So I was looking to get one of my pluses. Actually, here's what we're going to do. So everything but metal gets to graduate one of the elements of the soul, and that is important for the 3 and the 3. Moon, a culmination. I can master this mystery, enough moon to match mystery moon. Better still, because I've already got the satisfaction. Excuse me. What do we want to do here? I guess we can do the Arab, but we can get a replacement Wormwood Dream right away. All right. So again, the focus, I'd like to keep the focus on the Salon, but where I can take advantage of opportunities, I will do so. Serious discussions. Stanislav asks Hokabald about the tradition that the Velvet makes immortals of those sufficiently savorous to be hunted by her pet Kitling ripe. Timely. Hokabald confidently confirms that it's so, but his explanations are derailed by rants about those immortals who should have become her victims, or who she devoured despite their blandness. He sounds almost jealous of these last. Alright, spices and savors. So I do want to keep track on some of these, because spices and savors, for instance, is something I can use to level up rights of the roots. I'm going to also take a minute to... rights of the root. The tricky part on this one is the combination of nectar and moth. So we'll do our best. There's one. I will also use the plant. Two. I think I'm really that short on moth and nectar. So forge and lantern, moth and nectar, intuition plus sky. Yikes. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to take a minute to think this through, because I'm sure I'm missing something really obvious here, but okay, moth, nectar. So impulse is the obvious one. Scent. Name day riddle. Occult scrap. And I suppose that forces my hand on Hive's Lament. Which is fine, I'll be able to get over that. Conversation ebbs and flows. Raise a complex question. Add a whist card. It has also occurred to me there is no possible way I'm going to have... there's no possible way that I'm going to be able to level this up in... Well, let's give it a try, I guess. Reasoned discussion. Zachary and Hokabald discuss the sun's division, which Zachary suspects is an outcome of a conspiracy of heaven, and Hokabald insists was the great work of destiny. Spice up the conversation. Add an Arab card. So far, it's been one of each, which means I can definitely start getting a little more generous with my, with the elements that I'm giving up for this stuff. Sense of awareness persists, but the plant remains immobile, unsettling but harmless. It doesn't even have thorns. I would say at this point, if I'm going to try to get a Hive's Lament, I mean, I guess I can use the health here. It's overkill, but... Energetic exchanges. Hokebald insists impatiently to Zachary that it is a crime not to yield to his burgeoning nature, and that he should get on with the devouring. Zachary firmly but quietly dissents. Raise a complex question. Add a whist card. Okay, so... whist is the top one now. Udrakhas, an anonymous confessional account of unsanctioned activities by the nuns of St. Brendan's. The title is a Henneveck phrase that might be translated as "the spirit flees the shadowed places." The author writes guiltily of her dealings with hill children and carapace relics. She suggests that she herself has a connection with one of the carapace kinds. Most of these dealings are trivial, but she claims to have arranged the death of the Marcher Lord William de Braose, called Black William. De Brause's wife Ava evidently seeks the Abbey's help to free her from her hated husband. Subsequently, he is found in the bedchamber of the wife of Llewellyn the Great, Prince of the Welsh, while attempting to negotiate the marriage of his daughter, also Ava, to Llewellyn's son. Llewellyn takes this badly. De Braose is hanged, and the elder Ava inherits his estates and makes a substantial endowment to St. Brendan's. In the author's telling, de Braose was innocent of all but cruelty, but the adulterer found in the bedchamber was a shape-changing undergoer. I did read this. Æson and Zachary discuss Elopolis' line after Husher. The white is west of the world, and winter does not wait forever. Zachary says suddenly that he would like to paint the white. Æson gently encourages him. They discuss the palest pigments. Invite a challenge. Okay, so 2 and 2. I'm wondering, I was thinking maybe I should do a trip to the, to do some fishing, but it's a little late for that now, so we'll just let the Salon do its thing. Let's hope it's equally possible to forget this again. Fraser and Æson are discussing terressication and Lemay's Reveline, the horrible changes that occur in certain families that have conducted traffic with beasts. It's another scale for me to play around with, actually. Yeah, I made the right call on the fishing. Spice up the conversation, add an Arab card. I think at this point we just stack everything together because I'm not going to too much else. I think I might have been a little too eager with the Hive's Lament. I'm going to leave this aside for a minute. Now, I do want to read it, but I want to pass the Salon first. Hokebald admits in a subterranean growl that even though, or perhaps because of his forge-long status, the sea airs of Brankrug cause his joints to stiffen. To rust, perhaps? Eason inquires blandly. In response to Hokebald's glare, he apologizes and prescribes a tisane. Alright, is this the way to the woods? But perhaps the wood is not a suitable place for a librarian. I suspect I will... Well, I'll still use the Hive's Lament, but I suspect I got the timing wrong. A lively meal concludes. My guests leave happy. Again, it's not that big of a deal because we'll make up the time. Right, and because the Salon is over, we can now read The Three and the Three, the St. Chiavi manuscript. This book describes the operations of the Chancel and the Calyptra, two triads of hours with subtle, far-reaching powers and responsibilities. Of all the extant versions, this one has best survived the interventions of the Calyptra. This book houses a Numen, a truth so powerful it can perhaps believe itself. Certain knowledge cannot be learnt by any entity below the rank of No, outside the covenant of the Watchman's Tree. The enforcement of this rule is Calyptra. The three who enforce it are Calyptra also. It is said that Janus elects Calyptra, that the Chancel is the judgment of Janus, that Janus is the wound in the law. The Watchman's Tree is a compromise. If Calyptra could end it, they would. If the Watchman could end Calyptra, he might. Between their planes conflicting, sparks illuminate the angles of unmade law. 3 rules. The hours are bound by their own edicts, even the Chancel and the Calyptra. That's why their deepest rules are secret. In certain histories, if we know those deepest rules, we know that even the Chancel and what the Chancel and Calyptra may not do. Any librarian can use this to establish a history and complete the game, but the revolutionary can win a particular victory. So that is definitely one that I want to make a note of. And there's our 3 edicts inviolable. So again, I'm expecting we will have a lot to do memories-wise. The funny thing here, though, is with the 3 and the 3, or with the 3 rules, I probably don't need to worry about using the Hive's Lament. Okay, satisfaction. I'm probably going to try and keep that overnight. Herbs and infusions. Furs and feathers. Sights and sensations. Great signs and great scars. 2. And spices and savors. So one thing I do want to try and sort out here, a lot of this is going to be focusing on the lower end of the spectrum. So for instance, one good use of edicts inviolable would be to bring up quenchings and quellings. And actually the funny thing here is if I move up quenchings and quellings, then that justifies moving up inks of containment using edicts inviolable. Now with herbs and infusions, I could have used that to move up rights of the roots. So the question here is there a better use? Because one thing I could do here would be to take rights of the roots, and then I can level up spices and savors using spices and savors. And then I guess Furs and Feathers is the one to bring up Inks of Power, because that'll be the laggard. That's fine by me. Okay, but first things first, we were working towards improving Rights of the Roots, so it was an occult scrap, and there we go. Okay, so I'm not head over heels about preserving the satisfaction, but I might as well get my money's worth. And then the other thing that is kind of nice here is I can, because I've got Azita's card, we can add her to the book, and that gets me my occult scrap right away. So for what you might call an occult correspondence. So what I'm going to do, I talked a little bit about it here, but let's formalize the plan, because I do have quite a few... Come on. I do have quite a few lessons here. So let's say... Quenchings and Quellings. So that one is a Winter and a Heart. So theoretically anything goes for those, but let's... I'll sketch out a first version, and then we'll see how the plan we'll see how the plan looks after everything's sort of locked in. So let's say we do Edicts Inviolable, and that will go into Quenchings and Quellings. Then Edict's Eye also goes into Inks of Containment, and I will verify that that works. Yep. And then Furs and Feathers. That can go to Inks of Power. So that leaves me with 2 Great Signs and Great Scars, and Spices and Savors, and an Edicts Inviolable. So one thing that's nice about here is, because the floor is now 6, Spices and Savors seems to be the most sensible one for me to level up. So okay, so I've got 1 Edicts Inviolable, Great Signs and Great Scars, and Sights and Sensations left on my to-do list. So first question here would be, let's just take a look at our options for level 6. So if I have a way of being able to level up Inks of Power, obviously I can free that up to bring Furs and Feathers to the higher level. I just unfortunately don't think I have a way of making that work, because it requires Rose and Scale. And then Sights and Sensations is already at 9, so nothing special there. Great Signs and Great Scars, again, quite high up. And Edicts Inviolable is already at 7, so there's no, one-on-one match. So, I mean, actually, this doesn't need to be hard. So what we would do is we would say Snow Stories... That goes into... Sights and Sensation into Snow Stories, rather. We do... Next up... God, that... Grail and Knock is a real pain in the neck. Okay, so Pentiments and Precursor... Oh no, Pentiments and Precursors and Applebright Euphonies. Well, we'll leave that for the end. So Edicts Inviolable. I don't know about sand stories in this case because we're already going to be leveling that up. So serpents and venoms. Great signs. 2 pentiments. And 2 Applebright. Yeah, so I got my work cut out for me. I'm actually also going to enshrine some of this into the plan. So, Snow Stories gets a boost. Yeah, I mean, this will all be level 6, so we're fine there. So you get a boost. You get a boost. You get a boost. Snow Stories is already up there. You get a boost. Cool. So I think in general the system works for me for you know, just again at this point here, if I really want to make high level stuff, I use these higher level I use these higher level skills. There's a reason I'm keeping this one higher up, because I suspect it will be level 7 before too long. Okay. But yeah, in this case here, I just have so many lessons that I, you know, this one does require a little bit of thought. So the other approach I'm going to take on this will be, as much as I'd like to level up quenchings and quellings immediately, I am actually going to try and target stuff like Snow Stories, Spices and Savors, just try and get those, you know, at the level that I want early, just because again, once you're at level 6, it's not easy to do all of these. Although, for the most part, these ones probably aren't as tough as, like, you know, I'm not looking forward to doing Rights to the Roots again, let's say. But we can work it out. Okay, so lessons are obviously going to be the big news. Actually, we can take a little time on this. I'll get the book taken care of. The big news for the oncoming episodes will obviously be the lessons, but a couple of other things that I'm going to do. I do want to make sure that I get invitations to everyone for. We want to do all the invitations for the to follow up on the Oriflamme heist. After that, actually, we can move the 3 and the 3 to its proper location. I do still intend to finish my work with the books, so we will start with Where Has She Gone, and then finish with the Radical Measure. Obviously, though, that's going to be after we deal with all of this. This is definitely going to take some effort on my part. Actually, let me just reorder that. So if I'm going to be leveling up quenchings and quellings, that's one of those down there. Furs and feathers. Cool, okay. So I'm just putting these ones aside because these will be dedicated to quenchings and quellings, inks of containment, and inks of power. So those are level 5. They're not as difficult to level up. Yeah, so priority number 1, lessons. Priority number 2, inviting all of the participants from the Oriflamme heist to talk and resolve that. Get new lessons through reading the 2 remaining books. And at some point, I do intend to open up the sealed vault. The catch on that one, though, is that I've got a lot on my plate. I don't know if that's as big of a priority as it used to be. So we'll probably do it by the end of the season, but I definitely have a few things that I want to get done before that. And that, I think, will be it for this week's work. I definitely have a lot coming up, which is kind of nice because obviously we were talking about how we don't have as much of the house, so I was wondering how I'd be spending the time. The biggest challenge here is going to be doing the juggling act in terms of managing all the memories, but the other thing that's nice about this is, and this was kind of the intention behind doing the big salon, the hope is that we'll have enough non-overlapping level ups and we'll have a full season to do that. So if I don't get it all done on the same day, that's fine. But it does also indicate that, I'm probably going to level up all of the skills anyway. In the end, it was 2 at the most that I wound up using. But it is fair to say, right, the more of these things I employ to level up, I am going to be in a situation where I may not be able to push the conversation in quite the same way that I used to. But that's fine, because the other thing is that I'm not necessarily looking. At this point, too, it's fair to say that I'm not looking to get a huge number of lessons out of these salons now. Otherwise, I'm going to be at like level 9 for all of my skills. Anyways, I should probably stop rambling and let this wrap up, because I know for posterity, after a couple of weeks, you'll be moving into the next episode to see how this all turns out. So thank you very much for watching. For those of you watching a little bit closer to the release time, I hope you have a nice weekend. And for the rest of you, just thank you for watching. Take care.